Good evening and welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. We are launching a new call-in service starting with tonight's meeting, and it allows those who can't attend City Council meetings in person to provide public comment by phone during a meeting. We're trying a new thing, so bear with us as we navigate this new system tonight using Zoom. Visit our broomfield.org council meetings webpage for step-by-step instructions on how to use the call-in service, as well as details on participating in meetings, links to watch live meetings, access to agendas, minutes, meeting packets, videos, and other documentation. And that's at broomfield.org/council meetings. The public may also provide public comment in person, as always. Public comments limited to 90 minutes total per item. The first 1 through 15 participants in the queue have 3 minutes to speak. The next 16 through 25 have 2 minutes. And if time remains, the next 26 plus participants in the queue have 1 minute to speak. For our hard of hearing residents present, we have wireless headsets available in the back of the council chambers through our AV team. The City Council regular meeting is called to order. Mayor Pro Tem Schaaf and Councilmember Leslie are absent. Council members Ward and Lim are attending remotely. So there are 8 council members in attendance. A quorum of the council is present. Would everyone please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. In an effort to keep order for tonight's meeting, I ask council members to limit their comments to 5 minutes. If council members are given an opportunity to speak for a second time on an item, they should limit their comments to 2 minutes. We'll plan on a 10-minute break at approximately 8 p.m. We'll begin with council's review and approval of this evening's agenda. Council may add or remove items from the consent agenda, or council may revise the order of business for the meeting. Does any member of the council have any comments or questions regarding this evening's agenda? Are there any objections to this agenda being approved? Seeing none, the agenda is approved. For our only item under petitions and communications, staff will present information regarding the 2025 Great American Picnic, scheduled to take place on Friday, July 4th at Broomfield County Commons Park starting at 5 p.m. Council has a copy of the agenda memorandum, which I'll ask our staff to summarize.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, council and community. Matt Gulley, I saw him just a moment ago. There he is. Our Quan of Fun. Mr. Gulley, please introduce us to this item.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and city manager. My name is Matt Gulley. I'm the recreation superintendent, and this is Jenny Morgan behind me, our community events coordinator. We're here tonight to invite you and all the community members to come to the Great American Picnic and Fireworks on the 4th of July at the Broomfield County Commons, which is a little over 3 weeks from now. Friday, July 4th at 5 p.m. is when all the fun starts with inflatables, Nerf games, face painting, live music, aerial performers, food vendors, a bubble tower, and beer gardens. As was discussed with council previously, the biggest change to this year's event will be the main pavilion, championship field, and the red pod on the east side of the park will be fenced in to make this a more family-friendly environment. Entry and exit points will allow security to check bags for prohibited items. The main stage will be shifting to the red pod east of the championship field as well this year. For those who do not want to go through the entry checkpoints into the red pod, the blue pod on the west side will still be available, and we will still have a fenced-in beer garden with food vendors on that side as well. The north side of the park, the yellow pod, will also remain open for drop-in usage. The beer gardens are back again this year, hosted by the Broomfield Chamber of Commerce. One beer garden will be on the west side of the main pavilion and the other on the east side of the championship field. Each beer garden will have different brewery options and different food trucks to choose from, so you want to visit both. We have 16 food vendors spread out throughout the event this year between the 2 food courts and the main pavilion. So that hopefully that reduces the guest waiting time. I know last year some of our vendors had very long waits, so we're hoping by adding more vendors we'll cut that down. The bike parade is changing a little bit this year as well. Participants will still line up at 5:30 p.m. The parade starts at 5:45, led by 2 of Broomfield's finest bike patrol officers. It will run along the south end of the blue pod and along the south and east side of the red pod. You'll see some arrows on here, and we're still deciding which direction it will be running to create the least amount of chaos at the ending points for it. So we will be inviting the mayor to kick off the bike parade again this year. Everyone of all ages is invited to decorate a bike or a scooter or a stroller and roll down the route with us to the finish line. We have a very exciting lineup this year. 6 p.m. Spinfony will kick off the night with their unique electric string quartet take on a variety of rock, pop, and classical songs. At 7:15 p.m., that 80s band returns to our event and will hit the stage performing many of the great 80s hits right up until 9:15 p.m. Right around 9:15, we'll assess the weather with our launch team and decide how the fireworks will go off. Weather always plays a big part in this event, so if wind or rain is a concern for our launch crew, we will delay up until 10:30 p.m. If we haven't launched the fireworks by 10:30, then we will have to cancel the show for the year. We tend to draw about 15,000 people to this event throughout the day, so as you can imagine, the parking lot at County Commons will fill up quickly. Accessible parking is moving from the west lot to the east lot to put people who have accessibility needs closer to the main event. In addition, the ADA accessible shuttle bus with a wheelchair lift will be making the rounds from Legacy High School, along with 5 other school buses. Everyone else is encouraged to utilize the shuttle service from Legacy High School, and the shuttles start running at 5 p.m. and run until 11 p.m. or until everyone has been delivered to their cars. You can meet the shuttles at the gazebos on the west side of Legacy's parking lot. Broomfield County Commons Road will close down at 5 p.m. between the Palder Rec Center and the Commons to allow for as quick and easy bus access as possible. This will also include no parking all along that stretch of road for the entire day, so we will sign that no parking. One important point is the road into County Commons from Sheridan or from Redleaf will close to all vehicle traffic at 8 p.m. or when the parking lot fills. That cuts down on the traffic congestion, and it cuts down on a lot of the motor vehicle chaos that ensues when we have people walking through. Finally, we'd like to acknowledge and thank all the city departments that will be collaborating to make this event a success. Police, streets, parks, recreation, facilities, health department, communications, North Metro, and I'm sure I'm missing one. This event cannot happen without all these players being a part of the planning and implementation. With that, I will turn it back over to council.
Thank you very much, Doug. Well, we do have public comment available if anyone wants to comment on this item. Now's the time. Do we have anybody online? Okay. Just checking. How about council? Any questions, comments? It's some new stuff this year. Councilmember Henkel.
Thank you all for putting in so much work into this. Every year it kind of evolves and changes, and it's always improving. So I really appreciate the idea that we can have fun and be safe at the same time. I just had a few questions that I think the Broomfield moms, it's a hot topic in the Broomfield moms group all the time, talking about safety in teenagers. And so I'm just curious as to how high the sort of like the gated off area is going to be, and like how well lit will that area be?
So the fencing we're supplying is 6 feet, so it'll be 6 feet high. As you can see, we have 4 access points. We are bringing in a outside security team to assist us with checking bags as they come in and asking people if they have any contraband, any things that's not supposed to come into that area. We are adding some additional light towers to all the entry points in particular. The stage has a lot of lighting, so it should be pretty well lit up until it gets dark. No one will be excluded. All teens are welcome to come in. They just will not be able to bring backpacks or other things in that may have items that are prohibited.
Thank you so much. I think that's all for now.
Thank you. Any other council member colleagues questions? Well, my question is, since this obviously is the newest addition with the fence, which I totally support based on the many incidences of the last few years, how are we getting the word out? How are we letting people know that there will be a check-in?
We are pushing out, Media and Communications is working on pushing that out through all of our social media platforms. We have it up on the website already. All that information very similar to what you received in the memo and what I presented is already up on the website. So we're doing our best to get the word out, and yeah, to make sure the community is aware.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We're looking forward to it. All right, next, oh, my screen just went dark. One moment, please. Okay, council member reports. Does any member of the council have any reports or updates this evening? Councilmember Marsh Holshan.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a reminder that Councilmember Nguyen, myself, and Mayor Castello will be holding a Ward 1 Town Hall this Thursday night at 6 o'clock at Rails End Beer Company, just off of Main. So anybody that wants to come from Ward 1, anybody can come really, but if you're from Ward 1 and want to come talk to us and let us hear your thoughts and concerns, and we'll be there. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Cohen.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to take a moment to tout on the subject of entertainment in Broomfield. Mayor Castriota, Councilmember Lim, Councilmember Henkel, and I had the privilege of participating in the ribbon cutting for a great new venue in Ward 5. The Palisade Park Amphitheater opened last Thursday. It was a little cold, but I think it's gonna be a lot warmer this Thursday and every other Thursday. So I encourage everybody to come out. It's on Highway 7 next to Children's Hospital. They say they plan to wave to the children at the beginning of every concert because they're right next door. And I believe it's 4 to 7. You can correct me if I get this wrong. 4 to 7 with a farmer's market, beer garden, and live music every Thursday.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. We really want to support the new farmer's market and the new location so that it is sustainable. So tell your friends and let's get up north to Nobro. Next is general public comment. We'll now continue, and if you want to speak on something other than the items listed on tonight's agenda, now is the time to be heard. If anyone would like to be heard, please make your way to the podium. State your name and neighborhood for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes, please.
Bill Crothers from Northmore, Mayor Pro Tem somewhere, wherever he is, City Council and staff. I only have 2 things. Saturday, we had the wastewater treatment plant academy, Saturday morning. That was quite a unique tour. It was really interesting, but you didn't really want to stay in the buildings very long at all. And I really feel for the guys that work over there. It's pretty incredible. And the one thing that was really odd that we learned was there seems to be way more regulations on the water after we use it than there is for the water coming into the city. Very few seems like regulations for the water coming in, but man, the list of what it has to be like after it leaves was pretty incredible. So they did a great job. There is a session tomorrow night. If anybody's interested, it's on the stormwater treatment here in Broomfield. And then that leaves 3 more, I think. Sustainability, street maintenance, and then energy environments are the last 3. They're either on a Wednesday or Saturday. So if anybody interested, they're doing a great job on the presentations, really putting a lot of work into them. The only other thing I had this thing about the drainage improvements, the $6 million that we're going to spend, was that part of the budget or is that kind of a surprise that popped up? It seemed more like a surprise to me.
Manager Hoffman.
Part of the budget.
It was in the budget? Okay,
was.
great. Super. Thank you.
Mhm. Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody online? Thanks, Curtis. But we have it. For the first item under reports, we have representatives from Waste Connections with us to provide a final update. Please note that the presentation will not include a question and answer session during the meeting itself. While public comment is welcome, we'll ask that remarks be made without direct dialogue or back and forth exchanges. So welcome. Would you like to introduce yourselves before providing? your update?
Absolutely. Mayor, council members, city staff. My name is Riley Bunyard, the Assistant District Manager at Denver Hauling for Waste Connections, and I have the privilege to give our monthly update. Next slide, please. So a lot of the presentation tonight is going to be pretty similar to the last couple meetings. First is we've had 5 missed pickups in the window between May 13th to June 4th. We've had 10 new starts in the same period, so it brings us to nearly 8,300 residents active. And then the city and us are still working on customer information and just work on the active list, just to make sure we have everything the most up to date, just based on information that was kind of rolled out at start. Next slide, please. And then kind of same message as last time on this as well. Our call volumes maintain at a very low level. We're right around the lower double digits on average day for calls. I think today was the exception because we rolled out some emails and calls for some past dues, just letting people know, but that's the exception for all this. And then I guess one thing to call out on this customer service, just to kind of clear some emails, messages we've gotten. If you're a new tenant for the city of Broomfield and you're moving out of the area, you can just leave your cart there. And then the next person that moves into that house can just call us. The cart's already there, and basically we'll just update the billing information. Pretty simple. We just want to make this as easy as possible for the city and just the new tenant for this property. And then next slide, please. And then lastly, we are still accepting senior and veteran discounts. So this is the current information through June 4th. We're right around 18% for veteran and military and senior. And again, this is just the same process as it had been. If you're a senior or veteran, you can just call into our customer service line, just give some required information we asked just to make sure you qualify, and then we'll apply the 10% discount right away. So I'll pass it on to Justin, and I think he has a few slides as well.
Thank you.
All right, next slide, please. Good evening, Mayor, members of council, city managers. Justin Munt, Deputy Director of Public Works. Wanted to go over a couple things. We've got 9,535 homes eligible to participate in the program. As of June 6th, there are 1,205 opt-outs. That's a 12.6% opt-out rate, which is 1.4% more than was reported last month. About 1% of that increase was due to some part of what Riley talked about earlier was the collaboration on the active and opt-out lists. And so some of those were due to some corrections through postal code addresses with different postal codes. There are other reasons why there would be changes to these numbers, both active and opt-out. Some of those would include selling or buying property in Broomfield. They may choose to participate or not. Renters will also affect this. So renters may choose to participate or not as those leases begin and end. People will also change their mind. We've got 11 weeks into this program. People are still determining whether the service provides and meets their needs. So we will continue to monitor that as that continues. There's a slight correction to the billing from last month. I wanted to clarify that there will still be billing the fourth Monday of each month, but we're going to be billing in arrears. And so I wanted to clarify that. We will be bringing that into our standard. So similar to our water bill, it'll be in that same kind of billing period. So people are more accustomed to being billed the prior month. So that's to align that better. Next slide, please. Moving forward, the plan is to provide annual reports to council on the residential waste services. Our call volume since the beginning of this program in April has dropped 97%. Staff will continue to collaborate with stakeholders and make process improvements as necessary and provide and track the topics of the monthly report. So as we've been tracking these items, we will continue to do that and provide all that with the annual report in addition to anything else that would come up. Although we are planning to provide an annual report in January, if anything of significant change happens, we will be coming back and providing a report earlier than that. So next slide, please. Just wanted to thank you, and the Waste Connections group will, after council questions, obviously remain in the lobby. So if there's any questions, they can answer those for you out there.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Munt. Thank you both. We do accept public comments on this item as well. If you would like to be heard, please make your way to the podium. Anyone online? Excellent. How about council? Any members of council have any questions? Councilmember Marsh Holston.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the update. Just one question. I had a resident from the Highland Park neighborhood reach out to me on the 29th. And I forwarded it to staff that they didn't have their bags picked up. Their extra trash bags were missed. I just wondering if we had an update on that situation.
I can look into that. We do track all of those. I can get back to you on
Okay,
that.
thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Henkel.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for this and constant updates. I appreciate it. 2 questions for you. The first question is, I used to work in real estate for a real estate agent, and part of my job was just to tell people how they were getting their energy bill, their trash service, those sorts of things. How are we communicating with new people that they have this option for them? Are we communicating through the realtors, or how are we communicating that? Or are we?
Currently, we don't have anything that I am aware of, but I can look into that and get back to you. But we do have information on the website that is readily accessible. So we can work with communications to push that to people that might need that information.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great if sometimes it's also coming from the old owners too, that they kind of pass along that information. So I'm wondering if we kind of, tell people, especially real estate agents, like where to find a list of, all of our trash haulers too. So that'd be helpful. And then the second question is, I just had an email this week. I don't know if she's in Ward 1 or Ward 3. I'm not quite sure. She just said our address is 1025, and I can send this out to staff. 1025 East Midway Boulevard. We are an alley pickup. She said last week the whole alley was missed. And the other times they missed us, it was due to the fact that they emailed me that the pickup date was Wednesday, but actually the neighborhood pickup date was on Thursday and didn't inform me of the change. So just wanted to relay that information from, again, the address is 1025 East Midway Boulevard, and maybe we're having some issues with the.
Yep, we can certainly look into it and address the situation.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Any other questions from council? All right, sounds good. Well, I guess we won't be talking to you for a while unless, hopefully we won't. Thank you both so much. Thank you for engaging and for, getting those call numbers down. We appreciate it. We'll now continue with the report section of the agenda. City Manager Hoffman, do you have a report tonight?
I do not. Thank you.
Thank you. Attorney Rogers, do you have a report?
Yes, Mayor, thank you for this time. At a study session on May 20th, council and staff had discussed the wildland urban interface. There's a model code, and I'm emphasizing model intentionally, that is set to be approved on July 1 at a public meeting on the state. And there's a map that goes along with that code. And some of you might have been familiar or heard about the WUI map. It shows potential areas that might be subject to stricter building codes for new construction. This is a state endeavor mandated by our state legislatures under a House bill that was passed in 2023. We wanted to share information about where residents could submit comments on this model code, because again, this is not something that council approves. It's something at this level that the state is looking to approve this model code. Once the model code is approved, then a code for Broomfield has to come to this body. It's a pretty complicated process, but I have an email. It's not the most, it's not the easiest email to share with a group. It's one of those, we were talking earlier, it's one of those complicated addresses. So those who are interested, I'm going to suggest that you go to the Colorado Wildfire Resiliency Code Board website. If you Google that, you'll get their page. They have information on where to submit comments, especially on that map. Putting your address, see if you're on the map, look at your neighbors, let them know, and submit your comments to the state so they can know how you could potentially be impacted by this WUI code and this WUI map. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rogers. And I have to back up a little bit. We had another report on the agenda that I breezed by. That would be the Immigration Services update. So apologies to those folks and thank you for reminding me. Council has a copy of the agenda memorandum, which I'll ask our staff to summarize.
Thank you, Mayor. And making her way down to the podium is Vanessa Oldham Barton. She is our Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Ms. Barton.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, City Council members, staff. I'm excited to be here today to talk to you about this and hopefully engage in a little conversation. So this presentation I'm about to provide is just an update of the assessment that was requested by City Council to evaluate services for immigrants and refugees in Broomfield to assure that we are a welcoming and safe community. And so, sorry, can we go to the next slide? And then the next slide. One more slide, please. Thank you. So I'm going to do a little bit of background on how we gathered information before I kind of go into some of the recommendations that we came up with. So in early 2025, because I never do anything by myself, I wrangled some of my fellow staff members from various departments to talk about current services that are being provided to immigrants or anybody who's new to the Broomfield area. And so the list there of the people who were a part of this work group, again, I think a pretty well-rounded representation of services provided throughout city and county of Broomfield. And so our focus of this work group, next slide, please, was again to map the existing resources that are in Broomfield, to try to pinpoint some of the gaps in access and equity in those resources, and to gather some feedback from staff and community to see where those gaps exist. Next slide. Another source of information that we utilized is back in 2023, there was a departmental equity work group that was established pretty organically, which is a voluntary group that meets on a regular basis within our staff that has representation from all the departments. And again, they come together to talk about barriers to equity or successes in their departments. And so it's just a chance for us to get together, talk about what's working, what's not working. And then earlier, or actually late last year, we decided instead of like talking about what's working, let's actually put some actionable pieces into play. And so we divided up into three different pillars, which are communication, community, and policy. And so within those pillars, different things are tackled with the employees. And so the communication pillar is working on developing a language access plan. The community pillar is working on creating a community outreach process toolkit. And the policy pillar was working to design an equity tool that can be used for policy development and review. Next slide, please. Fortunately for us too, during this time period, the Broomfield Community Services Network actually conducted two different surveys during this time. One that was specifically to identify the gaps for immigrant and refugee populations, again, during this current time, and also to assess any concerns that are related to federal policies around funding for whatever services are being provided. So they did that survey for us and provided us the information and feedback from that. And then finally, just sort of talking to staff, especially the frontline staff, asking them, what sort of questions are you receiving? How do you feel prepared to answer questions from the immigrants or from, and really anybody in our community that is struggling to find the resources? And so based upon that, we were able to kind of come together and talk about where we see the gaps are being portrayed. Next slide, please. So from all that information that we gathered between the group coming together as a whole to just talk about what services are being provided, talking to our staff, looking at the BCSN survey and working with the DO, we came up with some outcomes and some areas that we think that we can actually improve the services that are being provided to immigrants, but also I will say to really anybody who is new to Broomfield or looking for resources. I think there's just a better way I think that we can make sure that people are aware of the services that are being provided. And so the first thing that we came up with was having an actual resource guide for the community. And so developing a physical guide that talks about the different services that are provided. We're envisioning a trifold that can be at any front desk, can be at any of the fairs and events that we have, that just go through, again, I think resources that are available for anybody within the city and county of Broomfield. Because I think sometimes we don't even know what we don't know. And so making sure that we sort of align it within that trifold, obviously there would be a QR code that would take them to the website where maybe more detail would be provided. But the front desk definitely talked about feeling like they don't have anything to actually give to people when they come. We actually talked about this. We kind of came up with ideas of what would be important in that resource guide. And then thanks to our public health and their health ambassadors, we shared sort of our outline of what that document would look like with the health ambassadors, and they were actually pretty excited about it. And so, again, just having that physical document, I think, could make a big difference. And then that's something that would be updated annually to make sure that it was accurate. The second thing was having an immigration or refugee resource page on our website. Many municipalities do this, and although honestly, internally, we do not have specific programs and services within our government departments for refugees or immigrants. We thought it would be great to at least have a place that says, you know, these are the things or resources that are available for you in particular. And although that would probably send them to other resources or agencies, we thought it was important to at least have that presence on our website. And so our hope is that that page will go live at the end of fall of 2025. The next thing that we have been really working on and pushing is the Broomfield Language Access Plan. That plan, again, is being drafted by members of the Departmental Equity Work Group. We do have a draft in place. That draft is currently being shared with our internal Departmental Equity Work Group. We call them the DO, sorry, being shared with the DO. And then next it will go to legal, into communications, and to HR. And then once that draft has been sort of solidified, we will bring it to our city manager. And so again, ideally that will be in place by the end of 25. And that really will just be a structure of the best way to assure that language access is something that is thought about, that is required for certain things, especially anything that is of like high importance. When we were doing the research for that, it looks like right now our threshold language is Spanish. And so again, just assuring that things are translated into Spanish, especially if they are of crucial importance. The other thing along sort of with that language access plan, it's just a better, I think, education of our staff and our community of the language access resources that we have available. One of the things that the frontline staff said they get asked about a lot is, again, just that language access, you know, can they get a translator? Are there ESL classes, that type of thing? And so wanting to make sure that those resources are apparent, and so that people know that they can ask for that if they need it, and that we can assure that things are in their language of choice. And then we do have like on-demand access through Language Line and Language Nexus, also Google Translate. So I think it's making a point that all of our employees remain trained and aware that these resources are available to them, and also that it's an expectation that those resources are offered. Putting that in a part of our onboarding process, right? So that everybody understands that they have access to this. And so we will be launching a re-education campaign during the summer, and making sure that all of our front desks have signs that say, ask for, ask for information in the language of your choice. And then, sorry, next slide. Thank you. We were also thinking that it would be great to have a Welcome to Broomfield resource fair. In this current time, again, I think there was a little trepidation about what that would look like and if people would feel safe to attend such a fair. But I think in future, we can definitely make a point. And then I think with continued partnership with our other partners, with our BCSN, I think making sure that our presence, one, I think becomes more naturalized, and that people do see us maybe more in the community, and build that trust. But some of you might have been here years ago when we actually did the Share the Love or Show the Love events. And so we're thinking that the Broomfield Resource Fair would be something along those lines, where all of the resources can come together, our community partners, plus our internal resources, and just have a day of welcoming and being able to share a platform, share space, and make sure that people understand, what is provided for them. And maybe some entertainment and food as well. I don't know. And then finally, there was an idea floated that potentially the council could also create a statement or a video that just lets people know that that we are working towards making an inclusive and safe community for all who live, work, and play in Broomfield. And so again, something to think about. Having that on our website or something along those lines. So those were sort of the main areas that we focused on when we talk about things that we can do. Again, with the services that we already have, making sure that we're sort of re-educating our employees and our community about how to reach out to us and to be a part of what we're offering. I think being a little bit more thoughtful about how we are showing up in the community, and trying to build some of that trust back. So that is what I have for you today. And I'd love to know your thoughts or questions.
Well, thank you very much for all the work you put into this and your team, Ms. Oldham. We will take public comments on this item. If anyone would like to be heard, please make your way to the podium.
Bill Crothers, Northmore, Mayor, staff, council. I just have one question. The surveys that you did, are those available online for us to look at? And are the results there also of the surveys?
So those are actually done by the Broomfield.
Okay.
And I know that they are making them public. I think even in the memo, we attached it. They did say that we could publicize it. The results
okay.
were available, so I can find out more information.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Anyone online? All right, we'll go to council questions, comments. Councilmember Henkel.
Hi, sorry, I had a text from a constituent and I thought they were talking about this subject, but they're talking about a different subject. Sorry, a little distracted. Thank you so much for all of this work. It is actually very difficult to start this process in Broomfield, as you well know that, and I've helped resettle refugees from, Ukraine and also Afghanistan. And so I think this is a lot of work. It is a lot of work to do the surveys. It's a lot of work to understand the needs of the community, because here's here's where like when people come here to Broomfield, if they're a refugee or an immigrant, generally they're here. A lot of, at least I know our refugees are here because their government has failed them. So when people say, oh, we don't want government involved, it's actually the opposite. Government needs to earn the trust of the people that are here and they feel safe. And so that doesn't mean going overboard, overspending or whatnot. I understand people, want their taxpayer dollars going certain ways. But when you don't gain the trust of people who are new here, and this belongs to everyone too, then you don't have a sense of belonging. And then mental health could be at risk and everything. So there is a general sense that government has to take the lead here because we do have to earn the trust. If you think about Ukraine, another government invaded their sovereign space, right? Afghanistan, we tried to equip the Afghan troops to take over and they didn't. So their own government also failed them. So I would say that the government does need to take the lead on this. And I just love how this is sort of a pathway of, I think, developing pillars, which I really love that, the community piece of it. And we're really developing pathways and a structure for it. And this is actually a perfect time to do it because the refugee system has totally shut down. So we can actually take some breathing room to actually develop resiliency in the programming over the next couple of years. We do have refugees that are stuck though in other countries right now. We have P1, P2 refugees stuck in very dangerous countries and they shouldn't be there right now. But the refugee program was shut down, unfortunately. I would like to give feedback just on some of this. Again, I really appreciate it. It sounds like we're also trying to reach out to other people as far as like other municipalities and things like that. Is there a plan for that or what have you guys done as far as looking at what other people are doing as well?
Thank you for the question. Yeah, and I will say it's been nice, and I'm just going to give a shout out to our new Human Services Director as well, because having her come from a different municipality, I think was really insightful.
Amen.
Yeah. And gave us the ability to really see what other municipalities are doing. And so ideally, yes, I think we love to like sort of steal if we can, right? Like
Yes.
if that's working, if there's something that's working really well for them, let's try to bring that and duplicate that here in Broomfield. And again, like I said, not having a lot of just sort of internal services that are actually really designed for refugee and immigrants to Broomfield, we're going to have to look at other municipalities to make sure that we have, that we know what's available to them. And so I think our piece will just be making sure that we are providing the information so they know where to go and trusted places that they can go and get the information they need.
Thank you. I look forward to hearing more about it. I think this is something that we should look at year after year. And just making sure everything is, our health department's done a really good job of this too, having everything being trauma informed, and mental health resources are going to be huge in this realm. It has been in the realm of resettling refugees from 2 different countries. And then the mental health resources that are culturally appropriate. Just for example, a lot of our Muslim women will not go to a male, mental health provider. And they often will not go to a health provider that does not speak Farsi or Dari if they're coming from places like Afghanistan. So just understanding culturally appropriate mental health resources will be key here. I love the idea of Welcome to Broomfield Resource Fair. And I actually think this should be like, we were talking about trash earlier. How are we reaching new people in Broomfield?
Absolutely.
This is just a broad thing where people can kind of blend in. Some of our best data we have on actually resettling refugees is integration into the community. It's actually not very healthy if the same community speaks the same language all the time and is not reintegrating. And so that's also an opportunity for our refugees, our immigrants, and people who just moved here from Kansas to all have a place. Todd's from Kansas. Didn't mean to pick on that state. Just a resource saying, hey, here's our single hauler trash program. Here are open spaces. This is just a really good program for anyone who's new. I do know that, just so you know, a lot of our nonprofits are working in this area. The Refuge will be taking on a lot of this work. I'm actually going to be rolling off in my director role here soon, and I've been training somebody else for it. So I'm super excited about that. I've been training them for over a year. Anyway, going back to the information, the council video is such a great idea too. Again, it's like saying, government, we have your back, okay? we are here to help you and help you, understand that Broomfield is a great welcoming place. And like I said, just continual improvement and revisiting yearly, I think is going to be key here. So thank you. Thank you, Health Department as well, and Health and Human Services. And really appreciate all the work. I know this is a ton of work and this is just the beginning. So thank you.
Thank you. And again, I obviously did not do this alone. So had a lot of help from our fellow departments. So thank you.
You, Councilmember Wynn.
Thank you, Mayor. And I really appreciate this presentation. I mean, this captures a lot of issues and a lot of things that the immigrant community would like to see. And obviously, we have a lot of work to do. I think one of my main questions to, go off of Councilmember Henkel is, I guess, right now, to be blunt, the current political climate, a lot of the issues in, neighboring counties, communities like Aurora, we've seen a withdrawal of immigrants from active participation in the community. And I guess my question might be, how do we re-engage folks to bring them to the table and to make them feel welcome? Because I mean, that's the biggest question: is how do we provide a safe space in an environment that is not safe right now?
No, thank you. I think that's a valid question. And I think that's where we lean on some of our nonprofit partners in the community, honestly, because they've already established, I think, those relationships. And that was one thing that came out of the BCSN survey that they took, was a desire for those nonprofits, I think, to be able to partner a little bit more closely with the city and county. And so, and again, I don't think it has to be about money. I think it's truly about that collaboration and meeting people where they are. And we have to prove that we're trustworthy. And I don't know that we've put a lot of effort at least with the immigrants and the refugee population. And so again, we're going to lean on our partners, I think our nonprofits, to help us walk the walk. And again, I think what public health has done so well with the ambassador program. So really creating those places where the community not only gets to have that seat at the table, right? But they're also helping preparing the meal, right? Like I think that's the big piece. And that will be our journey, I think, over the next year.
Thank you so much for the answer. And obviously, there's a lot of work to do, and I appreciate these. These are big steps, and I applaud that the work of you and everyone on city staff for making this effort, because right now, to be blunt, it is scary.
It is.
So I appreciate your time. Thank you. That's all my questions, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Ward.
Thank you, Mayor. Staff, thank you so much for the presentation and all the work you've done into this. I guess the only question I really have is kind of an expansion of that Welcome to Broomfield Resource Fair. I completely support the idea, and I love that we should have something dedicated for residents that are new to the city and county of Broomfield, no matter what their status or reasoning for being in Broomfield is. But do we do any sort of, I guess, resource sharing at other city and county events, such as like Brouhaha or Broomfield Days? And if we don't, would that be something we could incorporate into those, maybe not in a full resource fair manner, but maybe a somewhat pared down version?
So yes, the resources are shared, I think, in those events as well. But that's not necessarily what people are there for. And so I think sometimes it gets a little bit lost in the commotion, right? And the kind of the fun. And so I think trying to have something that's a little bit more pointed, so that people truly understand like what the point of the event is, I think is maybe a good idea. But yes, there definitely are resources and people have booths and all of those events.
Okay, great. Yeah, and I totally agree that having a dedicated space for these resources so it doesn't get lost in kind of the fun activities that are supposed to be happening at Brouhaha and Broomfield Days is important. The only other thing I have to say is I would also support the production of a council video or formal statement. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you very much. Councilmember Cohen.
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to thank you for all your work on this. I know when we asked for this back in December, we were anticipating the environment would go south, and it has. So I think it's great that we're sort of ahead of the curve a little bit to catch up and provide these kind of resources. One feedback as I, sharing what Councilmember Henkel said, I do too have some trepidation about a event that says immigrants, refugees come here.
Absolutely.
I know if I were them, I wouldn't show up. And I do think there's value to what Councilmember Ward said. These other events are safer. I was at the Pride Festival, Broomfield Pride this Saturday, and there were immigration resources there. We wouldn't necessarily find them, but they were there for people who showed up. So I think that kind of outreach is important. I also wanted to add, if I missed it, I apologize, but I think school outreach would be very important to add to the list. Because often that's where these immigrant families and refugee families are interacting with our community the most through their kids. And I know I can see, my wife teaches language arts in another district. Her very best student this year was a girl who came 2 years ago, not speaking a lick of English, and is now her very best English student by far. Because she worked really hard and she read every book she could. And she's a fantastic student. I wish I could say I'm confident she'll be able to stay. I suspect not, sadly, because of the current environment. But she is the interaction, really. She spoke for her parents when her parents showed up to parent-teacher conference, but they needed help with the communication. They weren't as far along, and it's harder, obviously, as an older adult. But I think if we could talk to our schools about making sure these resources are shared through the immigrant and refugee kids, that would be very helpful as well. But again, thank you for everything you're working on this.
Thank you, and that's a great idea. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Any other council member questions or comments? See any? So thank you very much, Ms. Oldham.
Thank you.
We appreciate all of your efforts.
Thank you.
All right, so I do need to go back to you, Ms. Rogers, because there was a question about the Wildfire Resiliency Code Board map. So Councilmember Cohen, did you have a follow-up on?
I just had a quick follow-up. I just wanted to clarify, make sure it was clear to everybody that, one, the area we're talking about is primarily Wilcox in Broomfield that is impacted. And these residents basically have a week to submit comments and how this might affect them. But I also wanted to clarify that, yes, Broomfield has to adopt a code, but we can't do anything that's less stringent, shall we say, than what the state adopts, if my understanding is correct. So these comments on next week would be very important if we want to change or have some impact on what the state adopts by July, I believe, because then we'll have to adopt bare minimum what they approve. We can strengthen it if we wish, correct? But and my understanding is there really isn't any delineation to WUI properties, whether they're in Evergreen or they're in Wilcox, even though they're entirely different environments. But that was my question.
Yes, Councilmember Cohen, I would agree with all those statements. This is a very key time for public input on the draft model code and on the draft map. Once they are approved, there is the possibility that the state could, either through future legislation or through its own modification through the board, change the code and the map. But this is a real key time. And you are correct that when Broomfield gets to the point when it needs to adopt its own WUI code, it must match the state at a minimum. Same with the map.
And I'm also in Broomfield, we ourselves will be submitting comments, I assume.
Yes.
I don't know if you're prepared to summarize what those will be or what our approach would be. I know we discussed it at the study session and our concerns about potential impact on fire insurance, home insurance for these people, and the increased costs from materials, decks, fences, brush, trees, whether they can plant trees on their property, et cetera.
Without going into a lot of detail tonight, staff is prepared to make those comments. The city manager's office has already started drafting those and circulating those. I do not think it will touch on the insurance piece because we don't have that direct information, but all the other pieces that you were talking about, it will go over on by Friday. We'll have a comprehensive summary document for council that will include the deadlines. And this is something that would be able to be shared with the public. A lot of FAQs from our perspective and how Broomfield is going to respond and submit comments.
Terrific. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Rogers. Ms. Hoffman? All right, council's consideration of the consent items is next. Items 6A and 6B are Board of Social Services items. And as a reminder, council is the Board of Social Services. So a vote by council on this is a vote for the BSS. The clerk will read all of the consent items by title, and there'll be one opportunity for public comments and council questions and comments. Will the clerk please read agenda items 6A through 6D by title?
6A, approval of minutes for the regular council meeting of May 27th, 2025. 6B, proposed resolution number 2025-101-BSS, acknowledging review of expenditures and electronic benefit transfers for January, February, and March 2025. 6C, proposed resolution number 2025-99-BSS, delegating signature authority for intergovernmental agreements and grant documents related to the Department of Human Services. 6D, proposed resolution number 2025-106, authorizing the 2025 intergovernmental agreement for the Boulder County, Broomfield County Home Consortium.
Thank you. We'll now proceed with public comments. If any residents are using the new call-in service, they should indicate their desire to speak by pressing *9 to raise their hand. We'll start with in-person comments. So if anyone would like to be heard on these consent agenda items, please make your way to the podium. Anyone on, oh, come on. State your name and neighborhood for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes, please.
Thank you, Mayor. My name's Adam Schatz, 330 Peregrine Circle, Eagle Chase North neighborhood. So Ward 3, I believe. So it recently came to the attention of many of the residents in the neighborhood. It may have been common knowledge among some residents, but a lot of us just became aware that the future of the Eagle Chase golf course is up in the air. And from what I've been able to read, there's a lot that's not known. So the first question is, what is the city doing?
Well, sir, first of all, this isn't the general public comment section that already passed. This is for the consent agenda items, but I'll go ahead and allow you to speak, but we're not prepared to answer questions on this topic because it's not on the agenda.
Okay, I thought there was.
You can have your, be heard.
Okay, so there is thank you, I appreciate that, but
Of course.
maybe I can
Talk to your council members in
submit
Ward
it
3, Jean
formally
Lim.
for the next agenda. I thought this was the general, when you said.
No, that,
comment.
we had that earlier, but that's okay.
Okay.
And I would recommend that you reach out to your Ward 3 representatives because they're more involved in what's going on in the meetings and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I know Councilmember Anderson's very involved and so is Councilmember Lim, who's on the screen right there. So their
It
email-
goes, believe the golf course goes across Ward 3 and 4.
Right, it's both.
Yep.
It is both. So reach out to your ward reps and they'll fill you in on everything that's been happening so far.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming to
Appreciate
speak.
it.
Anyone else on the consent items? Are y'all going to the podium or leaving? I think you're leaving. Okay, wasn't sure. All right, then we'll go to questions from council next. Any member of council have any questions on the consent agenda? Seeing none? Oh, thank you. Councilmember Lim, go ahead. We can't hear you, but it doesn't look like you're muted. Go ahead and do a test. See if we can hear you, Councilmember. No. Well, if you want, you could put it in the chat. Oh, can we do that? I don't know how to. Do you want to type it in the chat? And we'll go, anybody else have any questions while we're figuring that out? No. That's okay. Oh, hold on. Oh man,
Mayor, could Austin can, Councilmember Ward, can you test your unmute? So we can see if we can hear you? Test, test.
I mean, sure, if you want me to sing, we could do some karaoke. It won't sound pretty, but
Thank you. Councilmember Lim, would you be kind enough to try to unmute again? At the bottom of your, there you go. Can you try that? Oh.
Yeah, the hybrid is not always the perfect solution, is what I'm learning, but it works most of the time. Did you want to text me or message, or we're okay? Okay, good. Well then, sorry about that. We'll continue on. I'm having technical difficulties right now with my my device too. There's like these gremlins everywhere. Stop it. Give me 1 second. It really will not let me get back to my script. Hold on. There we go. So seeing there's no questions, before asking for, oh, wait, did it work? No? Oh, did I hear something? All right, we're gonna move on. Before asking for a motion, I want to remind everyone that item 6D contains an intergovernmental agreement which requires 2/3 approval of council. Is there a motion by council that consent items 6A through 6D be approved? Councilmember Marshall.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councilmember Nguyen?
I second this motion.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Then seeing none, council, please cast your vote electronically. Councilmember Ward, please state your vote verbally. Councilmember Lim, you gave me your vote. She says yes. Councilmember
I vote
Lim,
yes, Mayor.
thank you. Does that matter? No, good catch. I didn't even notice that. Thank you, Councilmember Henkel. It's the gremlins in the technology tonight. We just gotta roll with it. Consent items are coming up. Sorry about that. We're gonna revote, y'all. It didn't need approval. It was a report. All right, so now it's okay to vote. Councilmember Ward, state your vote verbally. Councilmember Lim voted yes.
Yes.
Thank you. All council members have entered their vote and the results will be displayed on the screen. That passes unanimously 8-0. Thanks for hanging in there. The first item under action items. I'm gonna change devices. Give me 1 second. This one is not behaving. So I'm gonna pull up my script on the other device. Good to have contingency. Oh, wait, that's not it. I do apologize. There we go. Here it is. Now I have to scroll to the part where we are. Give me 1 second. Here we are. The first item under action items are the public hearing and council's consideration and borough's consideration of resolutions related to a Bank of America branch to be located in the Palisade Park subdivision. These two items will be reviewed concurrently with one staff presentation. Before we proceed, we'll convene a meeting of the Broomfield Urban Renewal Authority. The meeting of the Broomfield Urban Renewal Authority is called to order. I'll note that all members of the authority are present with the exception of borough members Schaaf and Law Evans. Members Ward and Lim are attending remotely. I'll now declare the public hearing open. We'll follow the city's standard public hearing procedures. First, staff will present a summary of the proposal. Next, we'll have the applicant's presentation. Then we'll ask for public comments and final comments from the applicant, and finally questions from city council members. Council has a copy of the agenda memorandum, which I'll ask our staff to summarize.
Thank you, Mayor. Our Deputy Director, Lynn Merwin of Community Development.
Good evening. Thank you, Deputy Manager Casey. Good evening, Mayor, Council, and Borough. Lynn Merwin, Deputy Director of Community Development for Planning. Next slide, please. The proposal this evening is for a final plat and a combined site development plan, urban renewal site plan for a new Bank of America branch location in the Palisade Park subdivision. The development site is located at the northwest corner of Colorado 7 and Palisade Parkway in the Palisade Park subdivision, and for reference, Children's Hospital is immediately to the east. The proposed final plat will subdivide the property into 2 lots. Lot 1, comprising 1.17 acres, will be the location of the proposed bank on the right side of that orange square. And Lot 2, comprising 2.64 acres to the west of Lot 1, is expected to be developed at a later time. The proposed development's location is designated mixed-use commercial in the Broomfield Comprehensive Plan, and the proposal is consistent with this designation. The site is zoned Plan Unit Development, or PUD, and is governed by the Palisade Park PUD Plan. The PUD for this area was originally approved in 2006 and permits a range of commercial and residential uses. Banks, including those with drive-throughs, are permitted use in this location within this PUD. The site is also located in the North Park West Urban Renewal Area, and thus the site development plan is co-titled as an urban renewal site plan. Next slide, please. This slide shows the proposed site development plan, which establishes the layout of the property, including the location of the building, the parking, landscaping, and walkways. The site layout includes a 4,320 square foot bank building with 2 covered drive-through lanes and an open air bypass lane. The development site is within a designated parking reduction area, and parking maximums are set to the minimum off-street parking requirements for non-parking reduction areas. Now that's a little dense to follow, but the bottom line is the parking maximum for a bank of this size is 13 parking spaces. The applicant is requesting a parking variance to allow 17 parking spaces, which is 4 above the maximum of 13. They have cited that the Bank of America's real-world experience and the bank's plans to have 8 to 10 employees on site is part of their justification for needing the variance. The applicant has worked with staff to mitigate this request by providing good pedestrian and bicycle access to the site. Pedestrian access is provided from the north and the south. A pathway will connect the front entrance to the sidewalk that extends along Colorado 7 today. Next slide, please. The proposed building will be 20 feet tall, which complies with the maximum allowable height of 180 feet in the Palisade PUD plan. The design of the bank building includes stucco and metal panels with aluminum accents and glass storefront glazing, consistent with the look of other Bank of America locations you might see around town. Site lighting fixtures will be full cutoff and directed down in a full cut-off position. And finally, the site landscaping uses low water plantings and complies with Broomfield's requirements. Next slide, please. This project includes a subdivision improvement agreement, which establishes public improvement requirements. If the application is approved, this agreement is eligible for administrative approval by the city manager. As noted above, or previously, the use is permitted by zoning and is consistent with the comprehensive plan land use designation. Staff has not identified any key issues for this proposal. And the Land Use Review Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of the subject proposal at a public hearing on May 12th. City Council subsequently requested to call up this application for its consideration this evening. Next slide, please. The applicant completed an online concept review on June 28th of last year and held a neighborhood meeting on July 3rd, also last year. To the best of our knowledge, the applicant has met the public notice requirements for this hearing. Next slide, please. This slide summarizes the applicable review standards for the application. City Council and Borough review the proposal based on review criteria set forth in both the Broomfield Municipal Code and the North Park West Urban Renewal Plan. The review criteria state, and this is a summary excerpt, that the proposal should be consistent with the approved PUD plan. It should be compatible with nearby properties. It should mitigate potential negative impacts and maximize potential positive impacts. And it should provide adequate facilities for pedestrians, bicyclists, and motorists. And a complete list of those review criteria are provided in your packet. In summary, resolutions 2025-103 and 2025-104-UR set out draft findings for City Council and Borough's consideration. This concludes my presentation, and I do see the applicant here this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Merwin. And next is the applicant presentation. Will the applicant please identify themselves for the record before beginning their presentation?
Sure, thank you. Hi, my name is Garrett Baum. I'm with Urban Frontier and also Kaverma, the owner of the property. Austin Mitch is with me, and he's with Cushman and Wakefield representing Bank of America. Thank you. Can you go to the conceptual slide, please? Perfect, thank you. So tonight, obviously, we're here to talk about or speak about Bank of America. I was at the pre-app meeting, the concept hearing, and the land use review hearing, where again, we were, land use review supported the project unanimously. Based on my notes from the initial concept hearing, I can assume that this is about the parking variance. So I'd like to speak first to Bank of America, but also to something broader and I think very important here in Broomfield. So Bank of America expects to have 10 employees, buildings over 4,000 feet. That would leave 3 parking spaces for customers. You know, we're going to have all range of customers, some young, some older, and then they're going to need accessibility to get into the building, and only 3 parking spaces for customers is not a lot. So that speaks to the broader point that I'd like to speak to that's not specific to Bank of America, but I think important for Broomfield. So we've been developing in Broomfield for 33 years, and I've seen businesses have success, and I've seen businesses have failure. This location is a suburban location. It's not New York City, and it's also not downtown Denver. And I'd like to point out that downtown Denver is suffering greatly now from the lack of retail and the businesses that have gone out of business because they no longer have parking downtown. In order for retail to be successful, they have to be able to get customers in. We already have a signed agreement for a restaurant next door to this Bank of America location. And we've already calculated that the amount of parking spaces that would be allowed under the present code don't even support the amount of employees that that restaurant would have. We're working with another large sit-down restaurant that I know that Broomfield would love to have. And their most important point is that they have enough parking to be successful. They do not want to go and spend millions of dollars and not be able to park their customers. It's not that they're asking for a sea of parking like we see around malls and those areas, but it's important that they have the ability to get customers so that they can be successful. Their success is also the success of Broomfield. If those businesses are successful, Broomfield's going to be successful in property tax and in sales tax revenue. So if we look at the conceptual plan here, we see the Bank of America site and the Palisade Park Amphitheater. To the east and west of the amphitheater are 2 medical office buildings, and I know in our concept hearing there, the question about parking also came up. Doctors need to see their patients, and patients need to be able to park. So I know I'm rambling a little, but the theme is important because the success of Broomfield is at stake here. So I'm here to answer questions about the Bank of America project. Austin is here to answer questions about it. I don't know that Planning Director Merwin did an excellent job in her presentation, so I don't need to reiterate it. And I know you've seen this before. So we're both here happy to answer any questions you have about Bank of America or the greater question about parking and success of businesses in Broomfield. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Baum. We will now proceed with public comments. If anyone would like to be heard on this item, please make your way to the podium. State your name and neighborhood for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Roxy Jula Lockamore. By the way, the headset is in and out all the time too, so you have more complications than just your stuff.
Thanks for letting us know.
No. So I want to verify that the 2 lots that are there on the south edge side of the highway, of Highway 7, the lot that the bank is going in is on the east lot. Is that correct? Okay.
Inside.
Yeah. but it's on the east main lot. You had two lots on the main picture. Okay, well, that's not even what we had pulled up, so that's why I'm
If you're
asking.
going to answer questions, you should probably, this is public comment, Ms. Jewel. It's not Q&A.
So anyway,
Okay.
it was mentioned that on the picture that our people put up with the two squares, the two long squares, that the bank was going in on the west lot, which is not where it's going. It's going on the east lot. I just wanted to verify that that was where it actually is going. So, and I'm all for this area having more parking because this is not a bicycle area. This is not a walking area. This is the destination area. The whole neighborhood out there is a destination area. You can't do anything there unless you drive, or unless you are a bicyclist fanatic. And I'm sorry, I'm not, and I'm too old to become one. So if the bank wants some of us old-time money and stuff, then the city's going to have to give them more parking. And if the hospital people, if you ever get those buildings in, and they need the people to be able to get into those building stuff, they're going to need more parking. We, just like you said, we don't want to be like downtown Denver. I refuse to go down there. I'm not paying $25 a day or $20 an hour to go down there to go to one or two stores. So if that comes up here, it's going to turn out the same way. People just aren't going to use it. And we're going to lose a lot of tax money, and Broomfield needs money. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jewel. Would anyone else like to be heard? Mr. Baum, did you want to address the location specifically?
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's within the red box and it's west of Children's Hospital, but it's on the easterly most portion of that lot.
All right, wonderful. Thank you. We'll now go to anyone online. Okay, questions from council are next. And Burra, any questions from council? No? Anybody on Zoom? Councilmember Ward.
Thank you, Mayor. My first question is going to be for the applicant. You state that Bank of America is going to need, so I think you said 8 to 10 employees. Are those 8 to 10 employees total or at every moment the store is open or the branch is open?
Yeah, so we address that at land use review. They don't plan on just having tellers there. Sometimes you go into banks now and you see a couple of tellers and no one's there. They have multiple things that they're going to do at the bank, whether it's wealth management or other departments of the bank. So they expect to have that many employees at the bank at any one time.
Okay, thank you. And then you mentioned kind of experiences from other kind of branches that Bank of America has across probably the metro region in needing this amount of parking. Would you say that the experience of those who tend to come in most often tend to be people in the older demographic versus the younger demographic?
At banks, so a lot of young people are using Venmo and online and banking apps. Look, I'm 60 years old. I go to the bank and I still write checks. And I'll always write checks. I feel like when I deposit at the bank, I know they got my money. And when I go and get my money, I know I've got it and I don't like it on my phone. But I can tell you that my discussions with Bank of America, and Austin's here and he can concur, is that the generation sort of 40s and up are more apt to go to the bank and the younger generation, not as much. My particular banker says, oh, you can just take a picture of your check and deposit it. I don't feel comfortable with that. Austin, do you have anything to add?
My name is Austin Mitch. I'm with Cushman and Wakefield, representative of Bank of America. I would agree completely. I don't have the exact statistics as far as Bank of America representation, but it is more of an older demographic in most neighborhoods.
Okay, thank you. I guess those are really the only two questions, Mayor, that I had since I'm the one that requested the call up. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Councilmember Anderson.
So I also have a question about the parking, and the thought came out of the amphitheater, because the amphitheater is going to be off hours from a lot of the businesses, and this is going to go for every business in that area. Do you have a general sense of whether Bank of America, Children's Hospital would be always happening, they're going to want to keep their parking separate, but Bank of America and anyone else who is like not, like who doesn't have, like by 5 o'clock at night, they're probably closed. Amphitheater's got things going on in the evening. Will people be allowed to park at the bank and some of these other locations, or is that really just customer parking only and that'll be enforced? Have you thought about that at all?
So I think your question is, will people that attend the amphitheater park at the bank? The bank's private property, and I know from a liability issue, we had the same thing at Arista with the Children's Therapy Center. We own that building. And when the First Bank Center was open, there were problems. So Children's ended up having guards to make sure people weren't parking there. In reverse of that, and I'm not sure if you said it yet, but there are a number of parking spaces in front of the amphitheater, and if it's during the day, in addition to the amphitheater, we also have the ball fields there, and they are getting used during the day. So we'd prefer not to see parking for the businesses happen in the few parking spaces that we have. We don't have, we like public transportation. We want people to ride. We've put an incredible amount of bike racks there. We have wider sidewalks. We want to encourage people to do it. We've got a campaign now in Anthem where we send information out, and we're really encouraging people to ride their bikes. And we're working on setting up a facility where people could actually, if the bike racks get full, they can actually check their bikes in during the farmer's market and those types of things. So we're going to try to encourage those types of things, but we need parking for the ball fields and the amphitheater, and Bank of America needs their parking for their business.
Okay, thank you. I totally respect the private property piece. I just wasn't sure if there's any thought put into that. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
All right, thank you. Authority Member Goldstein.
Yeah, just so you know, I just don't show up and vote. I did consult with St. Vrain School District, and they do have no concerns about this at this time.
Wonderful, thank you. Councilmember Lim.
Yes, I know that staff reviewed the letter supporting the parking variance from Bank of America. I'm interested in staff's response to Mr. Baum's general observation that the parking code that we adopted is, he presented that some businesses are going to have problems with fitting into those parking maximums. My understanding was that staff did quite a bit of research in presenting those to council for adoption. Does staff have any general comments, not in line with Bank of America necessarily, but general comments in reaction to what Mr. Baum said about the new parking code?
Ms. Merwin.
Thank you. Yes, a lot of work went into the updated parking and bicycle, off-street parking and bicycle code, and that was just recently approved. And I know our transportation principal planner, Mark Ambrosi, put an extensive amount of research and time into that code. So I stand behind him on that code. I do think that it's sound, and I also think that there can be a time where a particular business and how it's operated might not fit exactly according to the code, and this might be one of those times. So since you asked for my opinion, there it is.
Thank you. Anything else, Councilmember Lim?
No, that's it. Thank you.
May I
right.
respond to her as well, or?
Mr. Baum?
Thank you. And I think the world of Planning Director Merwin. So I think we might agree to disagree here. But I've been developing real estate for 40 years now. And again, I've seen business succeed and businesses fail. Broomfield, over the decades, has asked me to bring certain uses to this community. A hospital was one, and I did. You know, we developed out Interlochen and helped Westcor with the mall. We have brought level 3 and Sun Microsystems. So I understand how businesses function. I've never worked for a municipality, and I'm not a transportation expert. But I do feel that 33 years of experience has earned me a little. The city has asked for Trader Joe's for years and years and years, and I've spent over a decade trying to get them and attract them to Highway 7. And I can tell you right now, for a fact, that if they have to abide by your parking code, they will not come. You will not get them. I can also tell you that the restaurants that I'm working with right now that are interested in being near the amphitheater, rooftop deck, amazing restaurants that you would want will not come if they can't park.
Wonderful. Good to know. And thank you.
Thank
Any other council member questions or borough member questions? All right, there being no further questions, the public hearing is closed. Next is council's consideration of proposed resolution number 2025-103. Will the clerk please read the proposed resolution by title?
Resolution number 2025-103, approving Palisade Park filing number 1, replat F Lot 1, Bank of America, final plat and site development plan / urban renewal site plan.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the resolution by title? Councilmember Henkel.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councilmember Wynn.
I second this motion.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Ward? Your hand was up. Was that?
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
I was going to offer a substitute motion, which was to approve the Bank of America Palisade Park filing number 1, replat F Lot 1, final plat and site development plan / urban renewal site plan with the following condition: that the site development plan be amended to remove the 4 parking spaces such that the SDP is in conformance with the Broomfield Municipal Code regarding parking without the parking variance.
Was this introduced to council before tonight?
So Mayor, thank you for that question. I was going to jump in. Conditions for approval on quasi judicial applications are an exception to council's rules on amendments because arguably the condition's not known or not solidified until after the elected official hears the presentation. So it sounds like an amendment, it reads like an amendment, but it's a condition for approval. So it doesn't require the 2/3 introduction under the council rules.
All right, so Councilmember Ward has proposed an amendment. Is there a second? Councilmember Marsh Holston?
Second it.
And then similar to the amendment procedures, the discussion would now be on the condition for approval and then a vote on adding that condition to the resolution.
All right, is there any discussion on this? Nope, so we're voting on the amendment.
Looks like Councilmember Ward has his hand up.
Councilmember Ward.
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry, I was a little slow with the raise your hand. Thank you very much for the presentation again, staff and the applicant. The reason that I will be supporting this motion, other than the fact that I'm the one that proposed it, is that we put in a parking reduction area for a reason up in that area of Broomfield, which is it surrounds Highway 7, which is near and right on our proposed BRT corridor of Highway 7. And, you know, our goal is to encourage more walking, biking, and public transit use when we get the public transit. I know we're going to have starter service in the next year or so.
Allegedly.
And um, and I think increasing parking does not continue to get us towards that goal of getting more people walking, biking. Also, I think the fact that the demographic that most likely is to go in person to a bank is an older demographic. It should indicate that we should also be building towards the future, where people are not always necessarily going to be going into a bank as time progresses. And if we approve any development, particularly this development, you know, it's going to be there for a number of decades without redevelopment or reinvestment. And as much as we need a plan for now, we also need a plan for the future. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I think we have some other discussion. Councilmember Anderson?
I have a slightly different viewpoint, although I totally understand where you're coming from, Councilmember Ward. I appreciate the effort that we're trying to make to reduce the parking and to move in the direction of the bus rapid transit. We have a 2-year starter service. There is not a guarantee. And I also want to think about how many parking spots we're really talking about here. This is an island, like this is not an island of parking, a ton of empty spots. This is just 4 parking spots. And if I heard Ms. Merwin correctly, that, you know, the code is robust, but there are going to be times when there's a very valid reason for requesting an exception. And I heard that if they're offering special services, 8 to 10 employees, and now there's very few parking spots for the actual individuals that are coming, this is not setting good precedent for Broomfield as we're looking for future development on this stretch. So I will be voting no, and I do think we do need to take seriously the experience of those who are planning to develop here. So thank you.
You, Councilmember Marsh Holshin.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to support Councilmember Ward's alternative motion for the reasons that he stated. Also, the questions asked earlier about the other parking uses in the area, I think, my opinion, that the bifurcation of parking uses is bad land management. There's no reason why those different land management uses can't share parking. And I think that the area has enough parking in the area to meet the needs that, I mean, you go to the bank, I bank with Bank of America. I haven't been inside a branch I have no idea when the last time it was. I do everything online and I'm over 40. And I think that it's just something that, I mean, even if you go to the branch, you're there for a few minutes and then you leave. And so you need 1 parking spot, maybe 2, maybe 3. I think that I agree with Councilmember Ward on his motion, so I'm going to support it. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Nguyen.
Thank you, Mayor. My apologies for the procedures. Is it possible I can ask the applicant and their a question about this amendment, or is that not in line?
Go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, I just want to ask the applicant and the developer how this would affect the project if there were limits on the parking space as Councilmember Ward has established in this amendment.
Yeah, this project won't move forward. And again, you're not going to see any restaurants up there either.
With those reasons, I will not support this amendment. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Any other council discussion? Councilmember Cohen.
I just want to say we're talking about 4 stalls. I trust the business plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I do too. And I do go to the bank because when you have cash, sometimes you have to go to the bank. And when I go to the bank, I see a lot of other seniors like myself who like to go to the bank. So I think it feels like an assault on people who don't want to ride their bike everywhere or try to walk or take a non-existent transit. So I really don't understand, after hearing from the applicant that there's already 10 spots taken by employees and that leaves 3 spots left that you want to take 4 away. It really doesn't pencil for me. So I don't even know why we're having this conversation. It was unanimously supported by the Land Use Review Commission with no problems. And I just think this is, and you hear that Colorado's getting to a place where it's bad for business. This is exactly what they're talking about. So think hard about that because we need that sales tax revenue. We need the revenue to continue to deliver services. It's a much bigger picture thing than your principal. And I'm starting to wonder if this parking mandate is going to be too onerous because we are not served by transit. We have the promise of transit that we've had for 20 years and nothing's changed. So I'll believe that bus rapid transit is going to happen when I actually see the bus. It's been moved so many times in my 8 years on council that it's coming next year. Oh, it's next year. So jury's out on that. And I hope my colleagues can see the lunacy of this. Thank you. So now we'll go to vote on this amendment. Council members, please cast your vote electronically. And Councilmember Ward, please state your vote verbally.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Lim, please state your vote verbally.
No.
Thank you. All council members have entered their vote and the results will be displayed on the screen. That fails 2-6. Next is Borough's consideration to propose resolution number 2025.
Mayor, I'm sorry, we go back to the master resolution.
Oh, we have to vote again. Okay. So now we're going to go back and vote on the standing resolution 2025-103. So now council, cast your vote electronically. Councilmember Ward, please state your vote
No.
verbally. Thank you. Councilmember Lim, please state your vote verbally.
Yes.
Thank you. And now all council members have entered their vote. The results will be displayed on the screen. That passes 7-1. Next is Borough's consideration of proposed resolution number 2025-104-UR. Will the clerk please read the proposed resolution by title?
Resolution number 2025-104-UR, approving Palisade Park filing number 1, replat F, Lot 1, Bank of America, Urban Renewal Site Plan.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the resolution by title? Councilmember Henkel?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councilmember and Authority Member Anderson?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? All right, Borough members, please cast your vote electronically. Authority Member Ward, please state your vote verbally.
No.
Authority Member Lim, please state your vote verbally.
Yes.
Authority Member Goldstein, please state your vote verbally.
Yes.
Thank you. All borough members have entered their vote and the results will be displayed on the screen. That passes 8-1. Thank you very much for your time and welcome to Broomfield.
Thank you very much. Have a nice evening. Thank you.
You too. Next under action items this evening is council's consideration of a resolution approving the purchase of a property located at 4584 West 136th Avenue. Council has a copy of the agenda memorandum, which I'll ask our staff to summarize.
This is such a great one. Kristen Pritz.
Thank you.
Kristen's going to introduce us to the Miller Property Purchase Agreement. A long time coming. This conversation's been happening since I've been in Broomfield, which is 25 years. Ms. Pritz, please introduce us to this item.
Great. Good evening, Mayor Castriota, council members, city managers, staff. I will be focusing on this resolution number 2025-95, and it authorizes the city council, if approved, to allow this purchase and sale agreement to move forward. The acreage is 26 acres and the price is 8.1 million. The use of the land will be for parks, recreation, and open space trail uses. Next slide, please. So this is actually a photo of the property. We're looking west, and the property is right at the southeast corner of Sheridan and 136th. Curtis, if you could start the video. We're looking west towards the Northmore neighborhood here once it starts. And then we start moving northwest to Aspen Creek, the Highland Trail Retirement Community, Chateau, Broadlands West, And then you see the Red Leaf neighborhood and homes beyond that. And on the very south side of the property is Broomfield County Commons Park. You can see the dog park, the art walk, and the athletic fields in that area. Next slide, please. There's a little history here that's important to go through. A 2001 purchase agreement with EMB Miller and Company provided for that space just to the south of the site. That was about 41 acres, and that became Broomfield County Commons Park. That agreement included a right of first offer in it, and what that means is that the owners of the property had to first offer that to Broomfield before they sold it to anybody else. So in spring 2024, the sellers let us know that they wanted to sell the property. We completed an appraisal, had some negotiations that went back and forth, and we came to a price of $8.1 million for the 26 acres. Next slide, please. So what are the reasons to purchase this property? It is cited in our 2005 and 2024 Open Space Parks, Recreation and Trails Master Plan that was just approved as a potential acquisition site. It is in one of the top 10 sites for parks and recreation in the 2024 plan. The property complies with the parks acquisition criteria in that plan and also the open space acquisition criteria. Both of our key committees that look at these works, Open Space and Trails Advisory Committee, Parks, Recreation, and Senior Services Advisory Committee, did review the proposal and recommended that it be moved forward to you. Next slide, please. The due diligence includes a minor subdivision that we're just about finished with, phase 1 environmental site assessment, and no issues were identified in that report. We also did an asbestos report, and this is a very old farmhouse. It was built in 1935, and it's very common to have some asbestos in this type of a structure. It was found in the floor tile and drywall, so that area will have to be abated, whether we keep this house or use it for some other purpose. There are no active, inactive, or plugged abandoned oil and gas wells on the site, and future oil and gas development is prohibited by the 2,000 foot setback from residential. Next slide, please. The table shows you where the different revenues are coming to purchase this property. And I want to emphasize that the two funds we're using for this acquisition are really designated for open space and park uses. The Public Land Dedication Fund will provide about $6,000. And this is money that developers pay for cash in lieu when they are not providing the parks and recreation open space land within their project. So that money can be used then by the city and county of Broomfield to purchase land, make recreation and park open space improvements. The next fund is the Open Space Fund, and this is just the open space portion of the Open Space and Park Sales and Use Tax Fund. So this is where the $2.4 million is coming from. We will have a projected balance. Some of that will be used for closing costs, and if we decide to do any immediate, kind of minor improvements on the property. Next slide, please. If the purchase agreement is approved, then we hope to have a closing in about 60 days. And also, if it is approved, I just wanted to note that what we would like to do is amend the comprehensive plan land use map so it would go from residential to open lands. That will help people that look at this property and have an understanding of what its use truly is. We also propose to rezone the property from planned unit development to this new open space and parks open lands district that we created. Eventually, a future management plan will be completed, we'll have community engagement to really figure out where and what uses will be on the property. Because the open space fund is being used, at least 7 acres would need to be used for open space, but I think the intent is that most of the site would be used for parks and recreation. Next slide, please. So if approved, Resolution 2025-95 will approve the purchase agreement and authorize the city and county manager to complete any documents we need. I wanted to mention that our team on this project is here tonight. Carl Front, our senior attorney, Clay Shuck, Director of Park Recreation and Senior Services, and Nathan Mosley, our budget manager, have all helped with this project. I also wanted to note that Michael McLean, our Open Space and Trails Advisory Committee Chair, is here tonight in case there are any questions. This concludes the staff presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Pritz. This is an exciting one. We'll now proceed with public comments. If any residents are using the new call-in service, they should indicate their desire to speak by pressing *9 to raise their hand. We'll start with in-person comments. If there's anyone who'd like to be heard, please come to the podium. State your name and neighborhood for the record.
Roxy Jula Lockmore. This has been going on for a very long time. It's sad of the circumstances on why we are getting it, but time goes by and we all get older and things change. I was just noticing that in the documents as they were posted to the public, that the open space trails area will be on the east side of the 26 acres. So the 7 acres will then leave a buffer zone between the residential area and the parks and the recreation area, which is a good thing. So, and the main thoroughfare roads that are along both sides of it will be its own buffer zone as it is right now for the commons anyway. So this is a good thing. I can't wait to see, what we do with it. I don't know if there is a well on this property, but if there is a well that is still usable, I don't know if the city will allow for that well to go ahead and be used for one thing or another. So that would take up less of our water from our tanks and stuff. That would be a good thing. The wells don't run dry, so at least not in this area, unless you use a lot of it. But that would be the one thing that I'd be interested in, if there is actually a well there, a water well is what I'm talking about, not oil and gas, talk about water. So it would be a good thing if we could still use it. If it's there, if it's not, I don't know how that house was ever put there without a well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Kim Tui Cindy Ponsai from The Outlook. I think this is a great idea. I think my current frustration a little bit in general with these open space properties is the city and county acquire them and then they just sit chained off, inaccessible to people. The last 2 purchases are still not open to people. There are no paths. There's no sign that it's opening up. And so I'm not saying it's this is a bad thing. I think it's a good thing, but I would like to see once these properties are purchased that we become a little faster at doing what we need to open it up to public use. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Would anyone else like to be heard on this item? Questions from council? Any questions from council? Councilmember Lim.
I would like staff, if possible, to address the questions from the 2 Ward 3 residents who made comments. Are there any water wells on the property? And could Director Pritz address, I would imagine the resident was referring to perhaps the Markle and the Watkey properties that are sitting, not moving forward yet. Could Director Pritz address the status of those properties moving forward?
Certainly. I think in our phase one, there was a well site found. It looked to me like it was shut down. We will look at that. And I think Ms. Jewell's idea of trying to maintain that well is an interesting one, but I think we would need to look into that more. So I don't have a final answer on that. But I believe that phase one did find something along those lines. In respect to the open space properties, so I think you might be talking about the Markle and Watkey properties. We did complete a management plan for that, and we are working on construction documents right now. And there will be trails and there will be public access. So you can either call me and I can talk to you more about that, or go on our website and you can see the master plans for those properties. I think you also might be talking about the Water Runs Back open space that is north of the Palisade neighborhood, so north of State Highway 7. And there really are some surrounding land use planning documents that need to be completed so that we understand transportation and some of those impacts that may affect some property that we own up there. But we do have that in our capital improvement plan for a management plan. And we love working on those and we love to see the improvements made, but it does take some time and certainly the money. So I appreciate your comment.
Thank you for answering the questions.
All right. Any other questions from council? Councilmember Cohen.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Director Pritz. I just had a couple of quick questions. One, in terms of the house, I know it's premature, but it seems similar to the Metzger house situation where there's an old farmhouse there that's been repurposed. I don't know if that is something you're speculating about due to its historic, perhaps, nature or other potential uses.
I think that is a possibility. You know, we'll have to go through the community process and work with council on that in our committees. It is a one-story house, which helps with access. You know, Metzger is 2 stories with a basement. So I think there's a potential there, and it's also a lot smaller. So I think that's something to look at. It was constructed in 1935. So we'd be looking at how that relates with our landmark board that we have. But those are all really good questions that I think will be interesting to get into with the community.
Thank you. Real quick question where does this put us on our 40% goal?
I think it brought us up to 36.2, and we have some other parcels that may be coming in. So slowly we are building up to the 40%.
Okay. And also, the division of property, is that set, or do you think in the planning process that might vary in terms of what's open space and what's recreation? And I'm sure there's a lot of recreation users salivating over potential more soccer space or baseball or whatever is the need.
I think, no, I don't think. The open space fund, that money needs to be used for open space type purposes on the property. But I think there are a lot of interesting parks and recreation improvements that we've been thinking about on that property. And I think we're excited to see that happen. And we've done just some preliminary concept sketches and so on. And I think there are a lot of nice amenities that could be on that parcel. And Director Klayshuck is here if you want really.
Well, I was going to ask if you could just relay sort of the timeline and process. So if there is a soccer coach out there thinking, oh, good, what is the process going forward in a rough timeline of when people's input will be asked in terms of how that land will be used?
I'd like Director Klayshuck to be able to respond. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm Clay Shuck, Director of Operations. Thank you for the question, Councilmember Cohen. I think as we go through this process, as Director Pritz talked about, is we have to go through a planning phase. And with that planning phase, we'll then kind of be able to decide what that overall project looks like. Kind of in some of the conceptual plans that we've already looked at, we're not necessarily looking at maybe multi-purpose fields on that side, or we're looking at maybe some different active recreation spaces. So I hate to want any soccer player, coach to be salivating over something that might not be coming. But definitely as we get into it, we'll have a planning process where we'll get public input on.
Okay. And one last real quick question, because I think Kim brought up a good question, that it does take a lot of time, it seems, for these properties to come online from purchase, closing to, water runs back, it's been 5 years perhaps since it was purchased. So is it a matter of just the legalities and land use, which can be very complicated and all, rights and everything? Or are there more resources needed that would make a difference to get these properties open to the public a little quicker?
With water runs back up north, we really need to understand some of the transportation corridors that may or may not be in that area and how they affect the planning. And so that process takes time. And again, that includes the community in that process too. So I would say in that case, it's really that we want to make sure we have these other issues buttoned up. With Watke and Markle, I think it was, some of it was just working on other types of projects and other improvements that were being done. So we're excited to get those opened up. I think we're going to be doing that relatively soon. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions from council? All right. Next is council's consideration of proposed resolution number 2025-95. Will the clerk please read the proposed resolution by title?
Proposed resolution number 2025-95, approving a purchase and sale agreement with E&B Miller and Company for the purchase of real property located at 4584 West 136th Avenue.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the resolution? Councilmember Cohen.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councilmember Delgadillo.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, council, please cast your vote electronically. Councilmember Ward, please state your vote verbally.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Lim, please state your vote verbally.
Yes.
Thank you. All council members have entered their vote and the results will be displayed on the screen. That passes unanimously. I'm excited. Okay, sorry. Next under action items. Oh, look, it's almost 8. Let's go ahead and take our 10-minute recess. It's 7:57. We'll be back at 8:07 and back in 10 minutes. Thanks. Welcome back. Next. Oh, welcome back. Yes, go ahead and find your seats. Thank you. All right, next under action items this evening is council's appointments for the Fiscal Leadership on Water Advisory Committee, or FLOW. I would like to thank all the residents who took the time to apply and interview for a position on our newest advisory committee. If you applied and are not selected or missed the application period this year, I encourage you to apply for other boards and commissions opportunities next year, as even calendar years are the main recruitment periods. The appointments for any FLOW vacancies will be posted during this recruitment period. The appointments for tonight will be for 2.5 years and 4.5 years to align with our boards and commissions recruitment cycle. The next recruitment cycle for FLOW will occur in 2028. The procedures regarding the election process to fill the boards and commissions positions are set forth in Section 6.1 of Council's Procedures and Rules of Order. We will use that process, which is as follows. Nominees will be identified for each position. Council may nominate applicants as a slate if desired, and nominations do not require a second. If the number of nominees for a particular board or commission does not exceed the number of vacancies, council will proceed directly with a motion to appoint. If the number of nominees exceeds the number of vacancies, council will proceed to vote using our electronic voting system. Results of each round will be electronically presented. Council members will be directed with the maximum number of candidates to vote for each position, but are not required to vote that many times should they wish to vote for fewer candidates. If none of the candidates receive at least 5 votes to be elected on the first ballot, the candidate receiving the fewest votes will be dropped as a candidate. This process will continue until the number of candidates needed for the openings receive 5 votes to be elected, unless candidates do not receive a vote from the majority of the member of council members present tonight. Following completion of the electronic balloting, a motion to appoint candidates by name will be necessary. Council received an email at 5:45 p.m. from staff with the voting links, so please prepare your devices for voting. I'll ask the city and county clerk if there's any additional information to provide. Ms. Clemens.
Thank you, Mayor. We have no additional information to provide.
All right, thank you very much. We'll now proceed with public comments. If anyone would like to be heard, please come to the podium, state your name and neighborhood for the record. Anyone online? Thanks, Curtis. Next, questions from city council members are next. Do any of my colleagues have any questions on the process? Councilmember Delgadillo.
Thank you, Mayor. This might be a quick, actually, little point of order or something. When I click on each of the links, they're both labeled as 4.5-year terms. Are they actually correct and they're just kind of mislabeled? I just noticed that when I clicked into the links. I can clarify further of what I'm seeing.
We're checking the forms now.
Okay, thank you so much.
Councilmember Delgadillo, the forms are actually correct. The links in the script were not correct. So we're updating that now.
Okay, perfect. As long as we got the correct thing. Thank you so much.
I see the real-time updates happening. Nice. You do. I could proceed.
We are ready to vote when you are.
Okay, wonderful. Before we proceed with appointments in previous years, council has decided to nominate the entire slate of applicants for all the positions at the beginning. Would anyone on council like to make those nominations? Councilmember Henkel?
I nominate all applicants to the Fiscal Leadership on Water Advisory Committee.
Thank you. The only committee council is appointing this evening is the Fiscal Leadership on Water Advisory Committee, which includes 7 vacancies. We'll begin with the appointments of 3 members to serve 4.5-year terms. The applicants have already been nominated. So we'll now move to the vote using the electronic portal via the link shared from staff earlier. As a reminder, this is for 3 vacancies for the 4.5-year terms.
Good evening, Jake Donnelly, IT Customer Success Manager. The voting for the 3 members of the 4.5-year term is live. You may need to refresh your screen or re-click the link.
Thank you, Jake. I don't vote.
We've received all the votes. We're counting the tallies now.
Okay.
The ballot results are on the screen. It looks like Parati and Taylor have received the appropriate number of votes.
Do you take off the last 2 or how do we proceed?
So pursuant to, good evening, Council and Mayor, Joel Heine, Assistant City and County Attorney. Pursuant to Council Rules of Procedure 6.1, what we do need to do is take off the candidate that got the lowest vote. That does leave 1 left. We would need a revote with 5 affirmative votes to select that as the 3rd candidate on this slate.
All right, so we're going to remove the lowest vote receiver or vote. Sure.
So when the ballot comes back, it's going to be vote for up to 1 with the candidate, Gary. And forgive me, how do you say his last name?
I don't know. I don't want to butcher it. Okay, Gary K.
Gary K. Yes. Okay, so that ballot should be good. You just need to refresh it.
Voting for the 1 other slot.
Did receive 6 votes, so that would be your 3rd candidate or your 3rd member.
Gary K.
Correct, Gary K.
All right, so can you give Councilmember Anderson the 3 names because she's going to do the formal, it's
Yes. So the 3 names were, is it Stephen Parati, Gary K, and Sam Taylor?
First, I need to ask for a motion to appoint. This machine is on the fritz. I do apologize. Let me get back to my other device. All right, is there a motion to appoint Councilmember Anderson?
Thank you. I move that Stephen Pirati, Gary Klepek, and Sam Taylor each be appointed to the Fiscal Leadership on Water Advisory Committee for a 4.5-year term or until a successor is appointed.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councilmember Henkel?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, council, please cast your vote electronically. Councilmember Ward, please state your vote verbally.
Yes.
And Councilmember Lim, please state your vote verbally.
Yes.
Thank you. All council members have entered their vote and the results will be displayed on the screen. So we have appointed the 3 4.5-year term members. Next, we'll appoint 4 members to serve 2.5-year terms. The applicants have all been already nominated, so we'll move forward to the vote using the electronic portal via the link shared. As a reminder, this is for 4 vacancies for 2.5-year terms.
The link for the 4 members of the 2.5-year term is live. You may need to click the link or refresh.
I'm sorry, what happened?
Well, even the email is still the old.
It's the new one.
What happened?
Sorry about that. I'm not on it, so I didn't know. Thanks for letting me know.
Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember Ward.
thank you. So when I clicked on the links in both email and in the email, both go to the 4-year term, 4.5-year term. I don't have a link for the 2.5-year term.
No, I get,
They
apparently
didn't-
no one
For me, they
does.
didn't update. Okay.
And it looks like they're resetting the form and they're gonna email it to all of y'all as soon as they fix it.
And you should be
Great, thank
receiving
you.
that email momentarily.
And Jake says that you should be receiving that email momentarily.
Seeing the emails coming through. Once you have that, the voting is live.
Cut, you got it? All right. You guys online got it? Okay. That's why it takes a village. You have to have the whole team here.
The voting has closed. I'll display the results.
I have 8 votes for 4 candidates, so this will complete your slate. They are Art U, Jeffrey F, Christopher K, and Kevin W.
Can you leave that screen up so that Councilmember Cohen can make the nomination? That'd be great. Is there a motion to appoint these 4 candidates, Councilmember Cohen?
Yes, there is. I move that Mr. Fredericks, I'm going to say Mr. Key, perhaps. Mr. Umble and Mr. Wegener are each be appointed to the Fiscal Leadership on Water Advisory Committee for the 2.5-year term until a successor is appointed.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councilmember Nguyen.
I second this motion.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, council, please cast your vote electronically. Councilmember Ward, please state your vote verbally.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Lim, please state your vote verbally.
Yes.
Thank you. All council members have entered their vote and the results will be displayed on the screen. That passes unanimously 8-0. So that concludes that item. Thank you all very much. And congratulations to our new Flow Committee. If you weren't selected this time, we invite you to reapply when there are vacancies or in the winter recruitment period. Thank you all. Next, under action items this evening is council's consideration of an ordinance on first reading amending Title 17 related to natural medicine. Council has a copy of the agenda memorandum, which I'll ask our staff to summarize.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, council, for your patience during that last portion. The gremlins are certainly here with us tonight. Brandon Rowe, our planning manager, is going to introduce us to this first reading. Mr. Rowe.
Thank you, City Manager Hoffman. Good evening, Mayor, City Council, no Mayor Pro Tem tonight. Brandon Rowe, Planning Manager with Community Development. Could I get the next slide, please? So the item before you this evening is the first reading for proposed ordinance number 2270, which is related to natural medicines. Back in April, we brought a study session to City Council for consideration and discussion regarding natural medicine policy. So I'll try to breeze through the history because we've been through that before, but we want to provide a bit of a presentation this evening. So just a reminder of what natural medicine is. It's certain psychedelic plants and fungi that affect a person's mental health and are controlled substances under the state law. Natural medicines include those items listed on the slide. Next slide, please. Prop 122, which was the decriminalization, regulated distribution and therapy program for certain hallucinogenic plants and fungi initiative, was approved by the Colorado voters in November of 2022. In 2023 and 2024, the Colorado Senate introduced bills and the legislation approved them regarding the implementation of a regulatory framework. The 2024 Senate bill was a cleanup of that framework just to make some clarifications. Since 2024, the state of Colorado, including the regulatory authority, have been setting rulemaking, which have been approved and are going through that process. And they started issuing licenses in early 2025. Prop 122 and the Senate bills prevent any local jurisdiction from prohibiting natural medicine facilities within their jurisdictional boundaries. But the regulations do allow for local jurisdictions to implement their own local controls on time, place, and manner of the uses and gives the opportunity for establishing a local licensing framework in addition to the state licensing requirement. At the study session, it was directed that we would not proceed with a local licensing structure, so that's not included in the ordinance tonight. Next slide, please. The ordinance does establish some definitions. So a healing center, and I will say all of these definitions are tied back to the Colorado Natural Medicine Health Act, and that was intentional. That way, if the state does make minor tweaks to the definitions, it doesn't mean that staff has to come back and further amend the code to update the definitions. So we refer back to the state act for consistency over time as they continue to improve the act. So a healing center is essentially treated like a medical office where facilitators provide treatment through natural medicines. Natural medicine, as we discussed on the first slide, outlines the types of fungi and plants that could be used for psychedelic treatments. And then natural medicine businesses include healing centers, cultivation sites, manufacturing and testing facilities, and any other such natural medicine business as defined in the Health Act and the the Colorado Natural Medicine Code that are properly licensed for operation pursuant to Colorado law. Next slide, please. So as discussed, the state legislation allowed for local jurisdictions to implement time, place, and manner regulations. Consistent with what was shared at the study session, staff is not proposing in this ordinance to include any time-related regulations. That's pretty consistent. We don't really regulate time for businesses here in the city and county of Broomfield. What we are proposing to do, if I could get the next slide, please, is implement some place regulations. So natural medicine healing centers, as discussed, are similar to medical offices where the facilitation of natural medicine treatment is completed. Those are proposed to be permitted on commercially and industrially zoned properties and within PUD zoned properties, mixed-use properties, and TOD properties that allow for general office uses, including medical office or clinics. Natural medicine testing facilities are proposed to be permitted on commercial and industrially zoned property and within PUDs, mixed use and TOD developments that allow for laboratory uses. Natural medicine cultivation facilities are proposed to be permitted on all industrially and all agriculturally zoned properties, as well as PUD, mixed use, or TOD that allow light industrial uses. And then the final definition that was added was the natural medicine product manufacturing. And those are proposed to be permitted on all industrially zoned properties. And again, PUD, mixed use, or TOD that allow light industrial uses. Next slide, please. Continuing with the place regulations, the ordinance proposes that natural medicine healing centers can be an accessory use to a cultivation or manufacturing business in any zone district that allows those uses. So that would be the industrial, that allows light industrial or laboratory uses. All natural medicine businesses are also required to be at least 1,000 feet from any child care center, preschool, elementary, middle, or junior high school, and or a residential child care facility. And that distance is proposed to be measured from property line to property line. This is consistent with the state minimum that was established in the act, with the only change being that the distance is measured from property line to property line, as opposed from property line to the closest part of the building. Next slide, please. The map on this slide shows the location of all of the schools and daycare facilities that are within Broomfield or very close to the boundaries of Broomfield that impact properties, along with that 1,000-foot buffer illustrated on it to show the property, the areas that would not be permitted to have natural medicine businesses. Next slide, please. And the final category of regulations that local jurisdictions could implement were related to manner. So the manner regulations that are proposed in ordinance number 2270 include that all natural medicine businesses shall not cause odors, smoke, heat, glare, or light that is detectable to a person of normal senses beyond the property line of the property upon which that business is being conducted, or in an adjacent dwelling unit or public area. And then additionally, that no natural medicine business can be operated as a home occupation. Facilitators cannot use their own residence to perform and supervise natural medicine services, but facilitators may provide natural medicine services at a participant's residence in compliance with state statutes. Next slide, please. So public engagement, a Broomfield Voice page has been created and provides information regarding the proposed ordinance. If the ordinance is approved on first reading this evening, we would have a public hearing as part of second reading, at which time public comment would be taken as well. Next slide, please. And then again, if approved on first reading this evening, proposed ordinance 2270 would be published in full, and a second reading and public hearing would be scheduled for July 22nd of this year. That concludes staff's presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll now proceed with public comments. If anyone would like to be heard on this item, make your way to the podium. Anyone online, Curtis? All right. So we'll go to council questions next. Members should limit themselves to questions during this portion. Any member of council have questions? Councilmember Anderson.
I do have two questions, and one of them I wish I would have asked a little sooner, but as we're sitting here thinking about this and the cultivation where it can be allowed anywhere on agricultural land, is this something when they grow these natural medicines, are these like in an indoor space or are they just in a field? Are they for security reasons, are they accessible?
Yeah, so the state statute didn't include specific limitations, just says it has to be grown securely, so it could be outdoor. But based on some research that staff did, all of the facilities that we sort of found using Google showed that they were inside secured facilities because they like to be temperature controlled and control any contamination.
Okay, so it's covered in the state as well, a little bit with the security piece. Okay, that was the only thing I was thinking of there. And then on the time of use, not realizing exactly, like, I think it's kind of yet to be determined exactly how many businesses there are in Broomfield and how they operate. But if we were to find out that we really should have established time of use and there's a lot of overnight use, and I don't know if I can't think of why there'd be an issue. Could we update that at a future date?
Council could direct amendments to any municipal code. I would look to the attorney's office if that limitation on time would apply to existing businesses or if it would just be new. Nancy, if you don't mind.
Thank you, Brandon. I believe it could apply to existing licensees, but it would only be in the future and after we have the two notices. But I don't think there would be like a grandfather to allow somebody to operationally stay open.
Okay, so we could address that in the future then. Okay, thank you.
All right.
That's all my
thank you.
questions.
Okay, Councilmember Lim.
Thank you. I had asked questions about the item ordinance number 6 has to do with the manner where the facilitators may provide natural medicine services at a participant's residence in compliance with Colorado revised statute. So I just thought of a further question. So obviously that's going to be at a person's residence. You outlined various provisions in the Colorado revised statutes that seem to say that there's only allowed under certain circumstances for the conditions of the patient at the time, and all people should be over 21. So I'm not envisioning that this statute would allow any large gatherings. But if the case were to arise that someone in their neighborhood saw a possible violation of this at a private residence, would that be reported to Broomfield, even though it's in violation of compliance with Colorado revised statute, or would that be reported to the state?
Thank you, Councilmember, for the question. Since Broomfield doesn't have a local licensing, any concerns with licensing violations would be deferred to the state because they would be responsible for compliance checks and following up on those concerns.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions from council? Seeing none, next is council's consideration of proposed ordinance number 2270. Will the clerk please read the proposed ordinance by title?
Ordinance number 2270 to amend the Broomfield Municipal Code, Title 17, related to natural medicine.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the ordinance on first reading and ordered published in full? Councilmember Henkel.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councilmember Cohen.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, council, please cast your vote electronically. Councilmember Ward, please cast your vote verbally.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Lim, please cast your vote verbally.
Yes.
Thank you. All council members have entered their vote and the results are 8-0. Thank you very much, Brandon. All right, the final item under action items this evening is council's consideration of a resolution in recognition of World Refugee Day. Council has a copy of the agenda memorandum. This item is an expression of support that arose from a request for future action by council members Henkel and Cohen. There is no staff presentation, but would council members Henkel and Cohen, do you have any introductory comment that you'd like to make? No pressure. Okay, I think so been said. All right, we'll now proceed with public comments. If anyone would like to speak on World Refugee Day, please make your way to the podium. And state your name and name and neighborhood for the record. And limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Thank you. I'm in support, obviously, of the resolution. Those of you who know me probably know that my entire career has been devoted to human rights and civil rights. I want to thank the council and particularly to shout out to Heidi Henkel, who not only promotes refugee acceptance and welcoming, but actually lives it in her daily life. And that's very commendable. Thank you, Heidi. This is a precarious time for our nation. We're at the point where we really need to define ourselves as a nation or redefine ourselves. Are we committed to being an inclusive nation that accepts and welcomes and appreciates the contributions of immigrants and refugees? This nation is built on the principle that the answer is affirmative. But now that question is before us in a major way because we have people in power who would now close the door for refugee resettlement, close the door to immigration, and not only that, use egregious military-style tactics to instill fear and pain and suffering. It's cruelty. I lived in Los Angeles for 10 years. It is one of the greatest international cities in the world. There are communities from all over the world in Los Angeles. And what I'm seeing before me is very, very, very troubling. So at the local level, I feel very honored to live in a community where our elected officials have decided to stand up for the principles that I believe in and that I believe have made our nation great. So in closing, let me just say thank you, Council, thank you, Mayor Castriota, and the staff, Ms. Hoffman, and those who work on these issues. And I know that you're going to be considering a establishment of a Human Rights Commission. And I've developed or helped develop these all over the country. And I'd like to offer my technical assistance when you get to that point. Not to take over, but just to offer the advice that I have based on, as you can tell, many years of experience. Pretty obvious. Thank you so very much. And I absolutely support this resolution and appreciate everything that all of you are doing to support human rights. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dulles.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Mirwais Bahij, and I'm a proud resident of Broomfield from Ward 2 and a refugee from Afghanistan. I came to Broomfield with my family in December 2021, and from the moment we arrived, the city has become more than a place to live. It's our home, a home where we have found safety, kindness, and the opportunity to rebuild our lives with dignity and respect. I would like to thank the City Council members, Mayor, particularly Heidi Henkel, City Member Cohen, for recognizing World Refugee Day. This day matters deeply to people like me who were forced to flee our homes, not by choice, but by necessity. When you acknowledge this day, you send a strong message that Broomfield stands for compassion, inclusion, and human dignity. Broomfield is becoming more diverse. That is its strength. We believe refugees and immigrants are not threats. We are valuable members of the community. We come with education, expertise, networks, and connections that can enrich our community, our economy, and culture. This is the beauty of diversity, we believe. It helps all of us grow. At the same time, many refugee families here, like mine, live with uncertainty. Immigration policies recently are shifting, and many of us, including Afghan and Ukrainian neighbors, now face challenges with work authorization, staying legally here, and facing a lot of challenges. While we came here legally, and we have gone through background checks and a lot of processes, and those who seek for asylum, their asylum was granted, but still there is an uncertainty, and we are in a fear for our family, for kids from school, for other family members at school, college, where they work. And we are contributing to the economic and social well-being of Colorado and Broomfield, but we need stability and support to thrive. Recognizing and celebrating World Refugee Day in Broomfield and issuing a resolution and proclamation tells us that we belong. It tells us that our children and their future matters a lot to the city. And it reminds all of us that we are stronger when we will come and stay by one another. Thank you for your leadership, for recognizing the contribution of refugees in our city. And I support the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bahij.
City Council, staff, thank you. This is Jen Rafi, Ward 4. I support the resolution with a caveat. I think after hearing the prior two speakers, I am totally thankful that this gentleman and his family have found refuge in our great city, and I'm thankful that this council is willing to support him and families like him. However, the gentleman that spoke previously, I think left out a key word regarding legal immigration. I am all for this council supporting the acceptance and assimilation and human dignity of those in need that have gone through the legal process. And I will acknowledge that there is much need for immigration reform. But I would ask this council to comply with law, because a country and a city without law, borders or language for that matter, really is not. And you're just going to be inviting some of the things we're seeing on TV into our city, and I preferred not to have that here. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Alyssa Reed. I'm a resident of the Wildgrass community in Broomfield. I'm also an attorney. I've been practicing immigration law for almost 20 years, and I'm a former chair of the Colorado chapter of the American Immigration Lawyers Association. I've had the privilege of representing thousands of immigrants and refugees over the years. And currently I count among my clients residents of Broomfield who are refugees of Afghanistan, Venezuela, and Ukraine. I'm speaking today in support, obviously, of this resolution recognizing World Refugee Day. Across the United States and in our own community, anti-immigrant rhetoric is escalating, and there's a complete erosion of due process. I see it every day. People who fled unimaginable violence now face barriers to justice, prolonged detention, and rushed court proceedings. So we immigration lawyers like to call asylum hearings nowadays death penalty level cases that are heard in a traffic court setting. The federal government is enacting policies that ignore not only our nation's legal obligations, but our moral ones as well. So in this environment, I think that local leadership matters more than ever. By adopting this resolution, our city can send a clear message. We reject fear-based narratives, and we choose compassion, fairness, and human dignity. So while Broomfield can't force the federal government to meet its legal commitments, we can at least ensure that in our community, we're meeting our moral responsibilities. Refugees in our community are survivors. They're rebuilding their lives with strength and grace, starting businesses, working essential jobs, attending our schools, and contributing to our city in countless ways. Recognizing World Refugee Day isn't just symbolic, it's a stand for human rights, decency, and the kind of city we want to be. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Roxy Julin Luckmore.
Okay, well, I have a different lookout on this. In over 60, 65 years of being around people from many other countries, the word refugee was not a word that they liked to use. Once they made it to the United States, it was a blessing, and they wanted to forget their past. They had a future. It didn't matter where they were in the United States. And actually, if they ended up in another country, they didn't care about that either. They didn't like the word. They didn't like to be called that, because once they come and they find home, they are a member of the community. And we accept them as the member of the community. It doesn't matter. I worked with a gentleman who came from Africa, and he was the nicest man. And then one day I looked when he was sweating and stuff, when we were working, digging ditches, his back looked like welts on his shirt. He was beaten there. So when he came to the United States, he found home. He found a lady that he liked. They got married. They have children. And this is still his home. He's in Wyoming right now. And this is his home. He does not like the word refugee, and he would never, ever use it. And he doesn't like people to even think about that. He doesn't mind being called that he came over here as an immigrant, in which I laugh because I have family of my own that are, and most of us do from way back in history, but it doesn't mean that everybody is going to be happy being in the United States either. But in his case, it was very heartwarming for me to have worked with him for quite a few years. And the first time I ever saw him take his shirt off to change into a dry shirt, he had a crisscross, he had an X on his back where they branded him. And once he took his shirt off, it was kind of like, he turned real fast and looked at me. And I said, I don't care. I said, you're a member of our community. And he calmed right down and everything. But still, he was one of many that I have worked with and been around. I worked with beat labor and everything else. So yeah, it's been many years, over 60 years I've been around these people. But 90% of them don't like the word refugee. I do not go for this day to celebrate them, because you're putting a target on those and some people that don't like that. So I don't go for it.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to be heard? All right. Questions from council are next. Any questions from council? Councilmember Henkel.
Thank you. I just have questions now and we'll speak a little later. Just wanted to ask Attorney Rogers, do we abide by all federal and state immigration laws?
Yes, we do. Our operations are consistent with that. And to just talk about that, like, it is a federal law, and immigration is not a local enforcement matter.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? All right, next is council's consideration of proposed resolution number 2025-93. Will the clerk please read the proposed resolution by title?
Proposed resolution number 2025-93 in recognition of World Refugee Day.
Thank you. Is there a motion to support the resolution, approve the resolution? Councilmember Henkel.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councilmember Cohen.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Marshall.
Thank you, Mayor. I was trying to let Councilmember Hinkle go first, but I pushed the button too fast. I just want to say that I obviously support this resolution completely. What we're seeing, the demonization we're seeing on the national stage is cruel and inhumane. The actions of our federal government is disheartening and sad, and those words aren't even describe what's going on. So the least we can do is a resolution to support those who leave cruelty and danger and pain to come to our country, we should support them and do everything we can to help them, and not what's going on at the national stage, because that's just wrong. But we have no control over that at our local level of government, so this is what we can do. So I support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Henkel.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to address a few things that have been said tonight throughout what I'm going to say. Broomfield has resettled over 120 refugees since 2021, and from countries on our temporary protected status list, humanitarian parole, and those claiming asylum and other visas. Our refugees are hardworking, they pay taxes, and are a huge asset to our community. Almost all of our Broomfield refugee families have been resettled in Broomfield because they have family here already, or a co-host who has voluntarily opened their home for refugees. And I will say, a lot of our host homes were people who came over to the United States about 20 years ago and want to open up their homes to other refugees. The current refugee program is totally shut down. It's a cruel way for leaving refugees now in dangerous countries, and some were traveling here. We had a house prepared in Broomfield. They were traveling here on a P1 or P2 program, and now they're stuck in limbo in Pakistan or other countries where they are in danger, and they can no longer go back to Afghanistan, nor can they go to the US. Many of our refugees who live in Broomfield are now worried, like Dr. Bahij said, that they will now be deported despite entering legally. Our federal government has moved the goalposts. We say, hey, here's your legal entry, and now we've moved the goalposts on them. So you tell me who has entered legally, because they have. The federal government is now changing the rules on immigration, removing even our Afghan allies off the TPS list. So if you are here tonight talking about Afghan allies and you want them here, please run that up the poll to the president, please, and remind him of what our promise is to our Afghan allies. Our Ukrainians are not receiving renewed work authorizations either, so legal efforts are getting costly. Celebrating refugees in Broomfield means we care about those who fled violence and danger and entered legally, have endured many biometrics and background checks, and their existence in Broomfield matters. And I will reiterate this last point here. If their countries were safe, they would still be there. And I can't insinuate that enough. There are many refugees that actually don't want to erase their past. They embrace it, and they embrace the culture. Many of them talk to their families back home that are still in danger, and they are in good communication with their families back home. They would not be here if their own government or if other governments did not invade their countries. And I just want to reiterate that they would still be there, but we are a safe haven for them to thrive and grow in an amazing place. And I just wanted to reiterate that we have a couple of members here on council, I'm sure will speak up, who are also children of immigrants and refugees. And I think their voice matters as well. And if you could listen to the children's voices, Dr. Bahij's daughter just won an award as well for her leadership role and her resiliency. And they have been a wonderful family to have in Broomfield. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Councilmember Delgadillo.
Thank you, Mayor. This resolution really does warm my heart, so I really appreciate that this is coming forward for us. Especially for someone like me who does have two parents who are immigrants to this country. My mom is from what is an area that's now overrun by the cartel, and my dad came here also for economic opportunity. So it's great that we're doing this. It's great we're saying these things, and thank you all for bringing this forward, and thank you to I'm sure, many council members who are supporting this.
Thank you. Councilmember Nguyen.
Thank you, Mayor. Just very briefly, I'm the son of refugees. My parents came here at the aftermath of the Vietnam War in a boat. My father, So Wen, he was a refugee because of a conflict that he had no choice to be part of. He came here on a boat, and he was sponsored by a church, the Boulder Lutheran Church in Boulder. He came here in 1982 as a refugee. And the first thing he would say is that he would not label himself as a refugee because he's an American. He was sponsored here by Americans. He became an American. He had a family. His children, myself, are Americans. We as a community, welcome refugees because many of us are the sons, daughters, the children, family members of refugees. America has welcomed the poor and has welcomed refugees throughout its existence. And for me, I support this resolution and express my support as this serves as a way to continue its American values. So I applaud Councilmember Henkel and Councilmember Cohen for this resolution as it does impact and allow for us to recommit ourselves to refugees in this state. And like Councilmember Marshall Olson mentioned, it's a scary time right now in America. People, like I said earlier in our first agenda item, they're worried, they're scared. And so I think this is a measure to express that Broomfield is a place for all. Broomfield is a welcoming community, and that refugees are law-abiding citizens who can become proud Americans. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Cohen.
Thank you, Mayor. I wasn't going to mention it, but I guess I'll add my name as a great-grandson of refugees. My father's folks, Louis Cohen and Ida Darwin, came in late 1890s from Belarus because had they not, the Russian Tsar at the time would have killed them. It's what's interesting, so multi-generations down, they technically were refugees. And what's interesting is the fear that was referenced never really goes away, because not so long ago when Posse Comitatus became active, my mother called me and said, it'd be okay if you changed your last name if you want, if you don't feel safe. And because she was still reflecting her fear of being targeted by what your name is or what you look like or how you speak. And I did come tonight, I knew the comments from the public would be far more eloquent than anything I had to say, and I was going to reference some of the famous refugees we may not realize that have contributed to American society, like Einstein, like the Google founder, Sergey Brin from Russia, Freddie Mercury to UK was a refugee, Bob Marley, Elie Wiesel, Irving Berlin, Madeleine Albright, etc. Some names you may or may not know, but I wanted to take a moment and address, I know something will be a part of the debate because it came up tonight about illegal versus legal immigration or refugee status. And I know it's hard for a lot of people to understand or are very confused why people don't just sign on to the idea that either you're legal or illegal. And if you're not here legally, you should leave. And I just wanted to extend this point that for generations, decades, all the way back to the 1940s, we had open borders. And we welcomed folks from south of the border to come here and work, to pick our vegetables or fruit, to feed our animals, slaughter and process our animals, pick the eggs, process the eggs, build houses, even take care of our children. But the deal was that you come here, we'll pay you a minimum wage, you'll pay our taxes, even Social Security taxes, but you won't get any benefits. But the deal is you have to leave. We don't want to live with you. And that extended for decades, even up to the 1980s when President Reagan, Republican, gave amnesty to 3 million migrants and said you can stay. Because the argument was that our immigration system was not fair and was exploitative. We were getting cheap labor and all the benefits and not extending any of the benefits of citizenship to these folks. And that's why a lot of people today are very troubled by the actions of ICE and the focus on the poorest and most vulnerable of our immigrants. It was interesting to note that 40% of our undocumented or illegal immigrants are overstays. They aren't people who necessarily crossed the border of the Rio Grande. They're people who flew in on visas and didn't leave. And our system has been so underfunded with not enough judges and not enough border agents that we don't track them. And they sort of seem to go on. But right now, our federal government is tracking the most vulnerable and the most visible among us. And so that's the debate. So I hope that when people talk about that, it's not just an issue of legal versus illegal, but has our system been fair? Have we benefited? Have we exploited the immigrants and refugees amongst us? And I think that's one reason it's really important that this proclamation extend, well, the federal government won't do it, but at least on the local level, the folks like Heidi and the work they do make immigrants and refugees feel like they're at home and they're safe. And I think that makes us a better community overall. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All right, will the clerk please read the proposed resolution by title? Next is council's consideration of proposed resolution number 2025-93. Clerk, please read the proposed resolution by title. Oh, wait, we already did that. Oh my God, sorry, y'all. Council, please cast your vote electronically. Councilmember Ward, please state your vote verbally.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Lim, please state your vote verbally.
Yes.
Thank you. All council members have entered their vote. That passes unanimously, 8-0. Well, thank you all very much for being here tonight and for expressing yourselves. There are no mayor or council member requests for future action this evening. Is there any other business to come before the council from my council colleagues or staff? There being no further business, the business